Hello everyone, my name is Mr. Casey. Today we're going to be talking about Unit 3, Natural Forces. We'll be reading a science article called Volcano. So let's get started. Okay, today's lesson, we're going to talk about more vocabulary related to natural forces or forces of nature. We're also going to discuss how to use viewpoint as a reading tool, viewpoint of the author. And then we're going to learn how to use subject pronouns to improve our speaking and reading skills. Then we'll use all of these skills together to read the science article Volcano. So let's get started. First, last week we talked about natural forces, and I asked you which ones do we see in Vietnam? Okay, so in this we see the volcano, okay, and we see an eruption. We also see that the volcano is erupting, the verb form, okay, eruption, noun, erupting, verb. We also see lightning and a storm, okay. We also talked about typhoon, something we see in Vietnam. Also monsoon, monsoon. Good. And we also talked about flood, flood. Good. Okay, I asked you to look up some other natural forces that we see here in Vietnam and some that we don't see in Vietnam. Here are some examples. First one is earthquake. Your turn. Earthquake. Good. Next one. This one's hard. Tsunami. Again, your turn. Tsunami. Good. Tsunami is when there's a big wave caused by an earthquake that happens in the ocean. Next, wildfire. Your turn. Wildfire. Good. The next one, drought. One more time, drought. Good. We have a 100-year drought in the Mekong Delta. We don't have any water. Okay. The next one, another natural force, is famine. Your turn. Famine. Good. Okay, famine is when there is not enough food. We can have a famine because of lots of other natural forces, like a drought. If there's not enough water, we can't grow food, we end up with a famine. Okay, next, we're going to talk about how to use a viewpoint when we are reading. Okay, so first, what is a viewpoint? Okay. A viewpoint, we see here, is what a person thinks. Authors, narrators, characters have viewpoints, depending on how you write the story, okay, or how you write anything. In narrative fiction, we can determine the character's or narrator's viewpoint. You see down here, narrative is when we're telling a story. Okay, so we determine the viewpoint, okay, by understanding what it is that the narrator or the character is saying. So here's an example over here, a dark storm. Okay, so read a dark storm, take 1 minute and read it, and tell me what you think the viewpoint is. So when we look at this story, we see here that Uncle Roy says, "It's not like any storm I've ever seen." That tells us his viewpoint on the story. Okay, now take another minute and read the story, The First Dust Storm. Take 1 minute and tell me what you think the viewpoint is. Okay, we can see here, it says, "I thought it was going to be a thunderstorm or a rainstorm, but it was only dust." This tells us the viewpoint, okay, of the character inside the narrative story. This is how we use this. Okay. So let's practice. What I want you to do, take 2 minutes and read this short story about an Oklahoma farm. Okay, and tell me, what is the character's viewpoint? I'll give you 2 minutes. Okay, so what do you think is Karen's viewpoint in this story? The answer is, the year on the farm was hard because of the dust. She's lived there many years, but this year the dust made it very hard to live there. Okay, let's practice one more time. This one is called Leaving Home. Take 2 minutes to read it, okay, and then answer the question, what is the character's viewpoint? How do they feel? Okay, so how do they feel in this story? What is the character's viewpoint? The answer, the helpful man turned their day around. They were in great spirits at the end. We can see right here at the end of the story, they felt better. That's their viewpoint in the story. Okay. We also use subject pronouns when we're reading and speaking, okay, to help us to explain things better. Singular subject pronouns include I, you, he, she, and it. You know that, of course. Okay, so let's practice. Take 2 minutes, look at the sentences, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and use the correct subject pronoun to complete the sentence. Give you 2 minutes. Okay, number 1, I am studying volcanoes in school. Number 2, my science teacher is Mr. Lin. He makes the subject exciting. Number 3, my sister helped me make a model of a volcano. She is a good artist. Number 4, here is the model. It took a long time to make. Number 5, Mr. Lin asked me, do you want to display your model at the science fair? Okay, let's do one more. Practice this one. Take 1 minute and fill in the subject pronouns for numbers 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Ready? Number 6, my mother visited Pompeii. She liked it very much. Number 7, Pompeii is an ancient city. It was destroyed by a volcano. Number 8, Luis is writing a report about Pompeii. He knows a lot about it. Number 9, Luis gave me his report. I read it. I learned a lot from it. Number 10, this is great, I told Luis. You are a good writer. Okay, subject pronouns. Very good. Before we read anytime, we should understand the key vocabulary. Okay, so we're about to read the story, the science article, Volcano. So we should understand some of the words that are in this before we read it. Okay, first one, active. It's an adjective. Your turn, active. Good. Next one, dangerous. Your turn. Dangerous. Good. Next one, erupt. This one we practiced before. One more time, erupt. Good. Next, force. Force. The next one is layer. Layer. Good. Next one, surface. Surface. Good. And then this one we've practiced also, volcano. Volcano. And the last one, warning. Warning. Good. Okay. Now, we're ready to read the article, okay, and use all of the skills that we talked about last time and today to help us understand this science article better. This is page 134 through 142 in your book. Okay, first, read this page. I'll give you 3 minutes. Read this page. The vocabulary is at the bottom. You can see the vocabulary here. What is the scientist's viewpoint on volcanoes? Ready? Okay, Joanne Green is our scientist. What is her viewpoint? Her viewpoint is volcanoes are dangerous, but she is used to it. It's part of her job. Her job is to study volcanoes. She is a volcanologist. Hard word, I know. Okay, next. Look at the last page and this page and answer these two questions. What dangers do scientists face when they study volcanoes? And number 2, cause and effect. What happens to make a volcano erupt? Take 2 minutes, look at the last page and this page, and answer the two questions. Okay, ready? So, what dangers do scientists face when they study volcanoes? Dangers include hot liquid rock and fire. I don't think I want to be a volcanologist. Crazy. Next one. What happens to make a volcano erupt? Pressure melts the rock under the Earth's surface and it forces it up to the Earth's surface. Next page. Okay, talks about the ring of fire and living with volcanoes. Okay, so we see vocabulary here, and here are our two questions. Okay, what is the ring of fire? Okay, and evidence and conclusion. Which details explain why people farm the land near volcanoes? So take 2 minutes and read these 2 pages. Answer the 2 questions. Ready? Number 1, what is the ring of fire? We can see from the picture here that the ring of fire is volcanoes that go around the Pacific tectonic plate. We live on the ring of fire. We are very fortunate. We don't have many volcanoes here in Vietnam. But in Indonesia, they have many, many volcanoes. In the Philippines, they have many, many volcanoes. So we are very, very close to the ring of fire. There are many volcanoes around us. Why would people live and farm near volcanoes? Is question number 2. 1, the ash is good for soil, and it's also good for crops. It helps things to grow. So it has fertile soil. So that's why people live there. Next page. This one is called A Dangerous Surprise, and it's about the eruption of Mount St. Helens in 1980. So read these 2 pages, okay, and see if you can answer these 2 questions here. What happened to Mount St. Helens between 8:27 a.m. and 8:33 a.m.? And then compare and contrast. How did Mount St. Helens look before it erupted? And how does it look today? Again, take 2 minutes, read these 2 pages, and then we will answer the questions together. Right. So what happened to Mount St. Helens between 8:27 a.m. and 8:33 a.m.? Here we see Mount St. Helens looked calm and peaceful. It wasn't. Okay. At 8:32 a.m., the blast produced 400 million tons of dust. It blanketed 230 square miles. Okay, this is what happened. Now, compare and contrast. How did it look before it erupted? How does it look today? Okay, we can see up here, it was very, very calm, okay, and nothing was happening, right? So it looked calm and peaceful. Now, how does it look today? Up here we see the part that says life returns. Trees have now grown back, animals live in the forest, life has returned to Mount St. Helens. You can go visit, right? You can see here that people go visit Mount St. Helens and you can see what it looked like in 1980 and what it looked like today. Next page. Okay, this one is called A Force on Earth. So, here's your task. Okay, determine the main idea. What is the central idea of the whole science article, Volcano. Okay, what is it that we are supposed to learn from this article? And then look at the picture here. How can you tell that a volcano is erupting? Erupting. So take 2 minutes, read this page, look at the previous pages and see if you can determine the main idea of the story or the article, and then look at the picture. How do we know that a volcano is erupting? Take 2 minutes. Okay, next. So, what is the main idea of this science article, Volcano? Okay, how can we best summarize, put it all together? What is it that they want to say? What is the reason that someone wrote this article? Okay, volcanoes are one of the forces on Earth that we live with, but we cannot control. We see this right here. One of the forces on Earth we can live with but cannot control. Okay, next, look at the picture. How can we tell that a volcano is erupting? We see right here in the text it says, ash from the volcano darkened the sky. The picture is in the middle of the day, but the sky is dark because of the volcano eruption. You can see people carrying umbrellas to protect themselves from the ash falling from the sky. So this is how we know from the picture that a volcano is erupting. Okay, good. So here is your homework for next time. Okay, review the article that we just read, the science article Volcano, and write down the subject pronouns that are used in the writing. Earlier we talked about using subject pronouns. So write down all the subject pronouns they use in the article. Then go back to page 140 and 141 that talked about the Mount St. Helens eruption. What is the viewpoint of the people who experienced that eruption? We talked about how to understand the viewpoint, okay, of something in a narrative. Okay, a narrative is a story. So we just read a story about Volcano. So what is the viewpoint of the people who experienced this eruption of Mount St. Helens in 1980? That's your homework for this week. And we will see you next time. Thank you so much.